ghosts, aliens, and everything in between. What an extraterrestrial normal realm that we're going to be diving back into today, because we are back in our second installment of Ghosts and... I'm Jonathan.
Aliens.
And Ghosts and Aliens. And today we've got a very special guest with us. Is my manager, Rachel Williams, the vivacious, lovely blonde in the room.
Oh, hello. Thank you.
And I'm trying to paint a picture for people who've never seen you before.
So, only about 20 pounds, wet.
and
joke here.
And of course, Jonathan, who we have discussed ghosts and aliens, but I was just before the podcast, I was saying we haven't discussed as much as I wish we have.
Yeah.
Because there's some stories that I thought we've talked about, and I haven't told you about.
No, we haven't gotten there, and we got other takes on it. We have other feelings about this.
And here, the other thing too is that we know some people, or I guess you might know some. But we have a special guest calling in later.
We do indeed.
Rachel here, her own mother apparently has had an encounter with aliens or something. I won't get too into it. I don't want to know too much.
Yes.
Yeah.
But she
believes, yes, that something has occurred. So I will leave it at that.
Okay, I'm interested. Ladies and gentlemen, you know as much as I do, folks. I'm very, very eager to get to the bottom of this, and we will. Just stay tuned. Now, Jonathan, what are your views on aliens? And if we talked about it last time, I don't remember.
A bit. I am just a generally skeptical person, of course. We know this. But there's so much... here's the other thing, is that I've probably changed my my stance just a little bit since that time. Like, now I'm like, you know what? I'm trying to be a more understanding person. Like, what is going on here? And, I don't want to be so dismissive of such a powerful experience.
It's it's a new year now. A new you.
Yeah. I've, forget everything you thought you knew about me in the last couple months. I have. Entirely. Jonathan, it's good to meet you.
You are a new friend every day. No, but that's great that you have a more open mind to these matters.
Yeah, I can't say that I'm more like, maybe I'm not sure, for the fuck's sake. I might be more scientifically open to the possibility that it happened, but I'm definitely more open to the emotional experience, and that's a very valid thing. Yeah. And I just feel like I'm more curious about what the heck's going on than I was before.
I think you should read those statistics you read me earlier.
Oh, yeah.
So, statistics.
Yeah.
This is news to me,
maybe
folks.
Yeah. This made me a whole new person since yesterday.
Wow, guys, I hope that you're ready to be enlightened. I look forward any chance I can to be enlightened. These are things that I'm saying to fill time while Jonathan's pulling up.
So we have Group A and B.
Group A and B.
Yeah. So Group A, an IQ of 100, psychological well-being of 16 out of 24, stress level of 14 out of 26, self-esteem 30 out of 40, fantasy proneness 25 out of 52, paranormal experience 41 out of 100. Okay, I don't want to read all these again.
Oh my word.
But those are those numbers. Yeah. And then Group B has a higher IQ, a greater psychological well-being, less stress, and more self-esteem, less fantasy proneness, and a lower degree of paranormal experience. Guess which group is the UFO experiencer?
The former.
Mm-hmm. You're incorrect.
Oh.
So to sort out these words, that's what surprised me too. It turns out that people who are reporting UFO sightings have, on average, are higher IQ,
you're shitting.
Greater psychological well-being,
less fantasy prone,
less stress, less fantasy prone, less paranormal experience, and greater self-esteem.
Now, people who have paranormal experience, so they're so it's like they're on the other side of the spectrum of people who have extraterrestrial experience.
I suppose so. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, my assumption, and I stand by it, was that people...
I wasn't even thinking that paranormal was different, but you're right.
That,
I was like, wow.
Well, here's the thing.
You're totally right. This is so fucking appropriate.
I would assume that people who have a grand story to tell, usually it's like, I have a ghost story. Well, I have an alien story. It's like, okay, we all got our old fantasies. We heard a bump in the night. We turned it into whatever story you're about to tell me.
Right.
I would never assume
less likely to have seen a ghost. It's like a mutually exclusive.
Now, here's the thing. Now, this is where the plot thickens. That statistic then shows that... most paranormal stories, I just think the person's crazy. But these extraterrestrial people, they're not those people.
I'm like, well, that involves science. Could be true. Could be true.
Could be true. But these people with a higher IQ and less paranormal experience, that they're having alien times, scares the hell out of me, because that kind of legitimizes the legitimacy,
whole goddamn thing,
of aliens. Right. And aliens. I don't want to. Who knows if they're even listening to this right now? Oh my God, I sound like one of those people who's posted up in a shack broadcasting a local radio station about conspiracy theories. But
there's like an alien out there with a newspaper, like, huh? Oh, nothing.
But I mean, it terrifies me. It's the same reason I don't make fun of robots. I think in the future that it's going to be like blackface. Mm-hmm. I don't want to make fun of aliens right now because it's going to be, what if they become one of us, like in District 9, and this broadcast, and then my career is ruined because they pulled up this episode
you
where
miss out on that
being
alien market.
Hey, as your manager, I think that is a very smooth move.
It's an investment.
The alien market's up and coming.
That being said, and as long as that's said, I think aliens are kind of bullshit most of the time. So I think now I've never had an instance with aliens. I've never had anything crazy. Nothing has convinced me, and I don't know. In fact,
that you know of.
I know of. Exactly.
You haven't experienced an abduction that you know of.
Well, I don't even know a person who has said they've come in contact. So Rachel's mom is going to be the first person I've ever talked to that is directly talked to the aliens or seen or ran into. I don't know to what extent.
And I'm curious to see if this happens to you guys, but I always try to tell this story to people, and I just can't, and I'm just missing pieces. And I think it's something that if she tells people about it, the aliens may have programmed you to not remember. I can never tell the story for the life of me, and maybe you guys can't after this. We'll see.
That's funny. I've heard it, and I can't really remember it either.
Okay, guys, you're hearing it here. We're going to get to the bottom of this because we're going to see if we can remember this story. And guys, this is risky business. We might be brainwashing everyone listening to this. If this is a story programmed for you to forget, that means we're tapping into disclaimer, guys. This Deep Balls podcast is extra deep today.
If at the end of this podcast you don't remember who you are, you also won't remember me saying this.
Oh my God. I can't get into these realities and timelines and science. This sci-fi shit is ripping my mind to pieces.
Holy shit. Well, should we call her?
Well, I think we should. I'm eager to hear this story. I think we've talked about it long enough.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
And remind me her name one more time.
Amy Davis.
Amy Davis, just for everyone listening. So, okay, we got Amy Davis.
Right.
And she's
all the way from Diamondale, Michigan.
Oh, Michigan.
Calling you from a beautiful farmhouse.
Right now. We gave her no extra heads up.
Okay, no extra heads up. Mommy, dearest.
This is our first call-in guest, I just want to say, I believe.
Yeah. It is our first call-in guest.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Is this Amy Davis?
It is.
All right, so Rachel's here with us too.
Hi, Mom.
And we have Brandon Rogers, our host.
Hello, pleasure to meet
Hi,
you, Ms.
Brandon.
Davis.
Hi, Rachel.
So I'm not sure how much they've told you, but we're kind of trying to, gather some stories here of people who have had extraterrestrial, I'll never get, who knows how to say it. I've never had anyone, I've never heard a story firsthand of anyone who has had a run-in before. And so I would love, if you don't mind, to just have this be your public statement of what happened to the best of your knowledge.
Okay. I've been convinced now that it's an alien abduction story. So, I don't know. I've talked to quite a few people, but so you just want me to lay it out for you?
As honest as you can. Just
all the deets, Mom.
I can be very honest. So it was about, I would say 1982, 1983. So I would have been like 16, 17 years old.
Okay.
And this guy that I really liked, that I had a mad crush on since the 7th grade, asked me to hang out. And I was like, yeah. And, hang out meant smoke some weed and make out.
As it should. I hope it does.
Yeah. I think it still means that, but that's what it meant.
That's what it means when I say it.
So I was like, yeah. So he came and picked me up, and we did like a 2-minute drive to a park. Of course, he did a 2-minute drive right straight to a park near where I live.
What time was it? What time was it, Mom?
Oh yeah, it was a summer day. It was a beautiful, bright, sunny summer day about 1:00 in the afternoon. He picked me up.
Okay.
And we went straight to the park, and we parked on a street that was right next to the park. So on one side of the street was just like residential houses, and then on the other side was like a row of trees and then the park, and you had to like go down this hill to get to the park. But we stayed in the car. We didn't leave the car. We stayed, as far as we know. As far as we know, we stayed in the car. And then, I mean, I guess we talked for a little while or whatever, and then he made his move, and we started kissing, making out. And, as one does, we closed our eyes, and we were making out, and I remember this so vividly because I had liked him since the 7th grade, and he was literally the worst kisser in the entire world. Like, I was, like, tortured and in my head going, he was like slobbering on me and like biting my face.
What
like,
a disappointing moment. I'm so sorry.
It was really, and so
the moral of the story is up front.
We were kissing, and I like make air quotes because I don't know what he was doing. I know I was like trying to kiss, but he was like literally biting me, and and I was thinking, oh my God, in my head, like, oh, this is awful. This just has to end. Like, it was just terrible. So it wasn't like we were like lost in passion or anything and like making out and just totally into it. I was just like, God, make this stop now, please. And so then I guess we kissed for maybe, I don't know, 10, 20 seconds or something like that. Okay. And we pulled away and opened our eyes. And when we opened our eyes, it was pitch black out. It was night.
Fuck.
And, yeah.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. That scared me. I forgot who I was talking to for a second. I'm a little high myself. And
and we were like, fuck, right? Yeah, exactly. And because it was supposed to be 1:00 in the afternoon. And we both looked at each other and, like, looked at the clock on the car, and we were just, like, screaming, oh, my God, what's going on? What the hell? What's happening? And we were, like, freaking out.
What time did the clock say?
To my recollection, it was after 11 p.m.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So it was like undeniably
like
night.
6:18, yeah.
It wasn't. It wasn't for the people out there who are doubters. It wasn't anything like an eclipse. It wasn't anything like it got really overcast and you opened your eyes. It was night outside, right?
It was night.
And you said the makeout was 20 seconds. You said that kiss was like 20 seconds.
I mean, you're like 10, 20, like, wow. Yeah, like, it was awful. And I was just like, ugh.
Right out of the frying pan and into the fire. Horrible kissing, and now you're in a horror film.
Exactly. And like I said, it wasn't like I was lost in passion. I was like, oh, God, like, this is awful. So it wasn't like one of those situations.
Right.
And we looked at each other. We just started screaming. He's screaming about, oh, my God, this is my sister's car. We're supposed to have it back. I was screaming, oh, my God, it's 11 o'clock. My parents have got to be wondering where I am. I'm going to be in so much trouble. What the hell? And so he just, like, puts the car in gear, and he just drives me home. And he pulls up in front of my house, and I'm like, bye. And he's like, bye. And I, like, sneak into the house, and all I care about is I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get, that's all I'm thinking is I need to get snuck back in. And, which I did. And I was in no trouble. And I just remember feeling relief that I'm not in trouble for being home so late. And then, the really weird part about this is that he and I never spoke of it. It was like terrifying. We were literally screaming while he was driving. He's like, what is going on? I'm like, I don't know. And we were just like screaming, and we were both freaking out. But we saw each other in school for like the next year and a half, 2 years. We even like hooked up again. I know. I don't know why.
Okay. But
I thought maybe, whatever. Don't judge me.
Maybe it might happen again. Yeah. Maybe it might happen again, and we'll get the time back. Yeah. And then you realize maybe you have a time traveling power.
Well, that's just the thing. We never discussed it. We never spoke of it again. I never asked him what the hell happened. He never asked me what the hell happened. We spent time together for the next 2 years, and then we graduated from high school, and we didn't see each other again. We never spoke of it, and it kind of just left my mind, and I forgot about it. Like, kind of just forgot about it.
That makes it horrifying.
Weird, right? I know, like, and it was traumatic.
Men in Black flasher that makes you forget stuff.
Absolutely.
Right. So that I don't know, and I was trying to remember, but I was talking with my best friend, Melissa, and somehow we were talking about something, or we were watching something, somehow something comes up, and I was like, oh, yeah, like maybe we were watching like an alien abduction. I really don't know what we were doing, but why I thought of it. Yeah, like it came back to me all of a sudden. I was like, oh my God, I had lots of time. That happened to me. And she was like, what do you mean? And I gave her the story about Mitch and I, and she's like, Amy, you don't understand. This is classic textbook alien abduction. And I was like, and she was like, what did he say? Like when you talked to him about it, I said, I never talked to him about it. And she's like, oh my God, Amy, this is what people say. If they have the experience with another person, they don't ever actually converse about it again. The answer is usually, well, we never talked about it. I don't know. I don't know why we didn't talk about it.
We got to
get
him on the
exactly
phone.
what.
Yeah, let's call Mitch.
Wow, this is
well,
so
that's funny you should say that, because so Melissa was like, okay, we're going to hypnotize you. We're going to take you and we're going to go have you hypnotized and see if we can bring this back. And I was like, all right, if you stay in the room with me, because I don't want anybody making me, fuck like a chicken or do whatever weird stuff. And she was like, yeah, or worse. And I was like, she was like, yeah. And then we didn't do it.
Here.
Why didn't you do it? Why didn't you go?
We just dropped it. And then a couple years later, it came back up and she's like, we have to do this. And I was like, yeah, we got to do it. I go, you should just do it for the birthday present or something for me or something. Blah, blah, blah. We talked about it. Again, never did it. So every couple of years it comes up and we say that we're going to do this and we don't. No, there's no follow through. We never do anything. And so it's just the weirdest thing. And I mean, it was definitely, I've never had anything like that happen to me since, but it was an absolute loss of time and it was terrifying.
Jeez.
Wow.
And so you've never spoke. That would drive me insane. I'm already starting to go a little nuts from this. I can't. I wonder what his take of it is today. I wonder what he has to say about it.
I don't know. I tried to find him. He's not on Facebook, and I've tried to connect with him, and I thought about that, and then I thought, if I bring this up, I haven't seen him since graduation. I mean, come on, man. It's it's got to be face to face. I got to be able to go, hey, remember that day? I have to do it face to face, or he's, and then there's this part of me that's like, does he remember? Mm-hmm. Is he going to tell me I'm crazy? Will he admit that it happened? So there's this kind of little bit of fear too.
Yeah. You know what? I'm very curious to know, and I'm sure many of our listeners will now also be curious to know if you do get any information at all, you should let us know. We'll kind of follow this journey along and see where the story takes us, because we would.
Okay, we'll keep.
Yeah.
Keep us in the loop about any
Keep reminding me, because clearly every time I talk about doing something about it, it doesn't get done. So, yeah, I'll have to have, reminders.
And just to be clear, that documentary or the show, whatever you were watching with your friend, that had a very specific case that was identical to yours. Is that right?
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. I can't remember exactly why it came up with Melissa. Like I said, I don't know if we were watching a show that made it come up, if we were having a conversation that maybe brought up this guy or brought up something to where I was like, oh, yeah, and but I don't to this day, I don't remember what that was that made me tell her the story.
Well, I think
I don't know.
I think what's interesting there is that what I'm getting at is that it's the same sort of. You were saying it's a very similar. You said textbook case of what happens when someone's abducted.
Yes.
That time is deducted instant. Is that? Have you?
Yeah.
Heard? I don't know too much about alien abductions, but apparently, I guess that's a way that people. Have described abductions, which is very interesting. So before then, an alien abduction, before that moment, had that occurred to you, or was it just then that you put the pieces together and went, "Oh, I think I might have had a run-in with aliens"?
I think not until I spoke with Melissa, because she was the one who said, "Amy."
And that was how many years later?
Textbook alien abduction. What's that?
That was how many years later that you did that with
That
Melissa?
was at least 2 to 4 years, because we were graduated, but we were probably like, young, very young, early 20s or whatever. So, it was her who just said what you just described to me, because she's very much into science fiction. She's very much into UFOs and all that stuff. So she has watched a lot of documentaries and stuff. And she's like, what you just described, Amy, is literally textbook alien abduction. You have lots of time. You are not discussing it. You have periods where you forgot it, but you didn't forget it.
Right.
It happened, but you're not talking. Why would you not naturally, immediately go, "Oh my God, dude, what was that?" And connect with each other and discuss it. And she said that is something that's deliberate when it happens, where it's not an experience that happens to just you on your own. When someone else experiences it with you, it's like they deliberately separate you and make sure that it's not discussed.
Now, really quick, I want to go back to the in between before you and Melissa saw this on TV. Actually, closer to right after it happened. What was going through your head? Even that night when you came home, obviously you said you were very worried you were going to get in trouble from your parents. But what was going through your head regarding the reality of what you had experienced? What sort of logic were you putting toward that?
That's the weird part. I wasn't analyzing it. I wasn't thinking about it. I switched I was afraid, but my fear went to, I'm going to get in trouble. I focused on that. And then when I wasn't, I felt relief, and I was just, I never, and I mean, back me up here, Rachel, you know me.
Yeah.
I didn't analyze it at all. I didn't question it. I didn't analyze it. I didn't think about it. I didn't connect it. I didn't do any of those things, and that's not me. That's not my personality at all. I would be like, I got to get to the bottom of this.
Right.
Right. And
you would have outed yourself to your parents just to get help figuring out what happened.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know why I don't know why. And I have always wanted this opportunity like that. If I ever run into him, I need to definitely talk to him about this face to face and just see what he says. And, yeah.
I gotta say, I myself have a couple of irrational fears. One of them is, what if I appear in a place on the planet I wasn't supposed to be at? How do I get home? The other one is, what if I lose control of time? What if I lose, I can't control how, I just lose hours? That's another one, irrational fear. But with you, not so much. It could be it could be a real thing. This thing, I've had a fear many times that I just look up, and I've thought about this situation just hypothetically. What if I just looked up and it was nighttime outside, or I'll be in my apartment. I'm like, what if I look up and even just the other day, Jonathan calls me, and it's 8:00, and I wake up and I notice it's somewhat overcast outside. I wake up and I go, oh my gosh, it's overcast. It's hard to see the sun. I look at the time. It's 8:00. I say, Jonathan, is it 8 a.m. or p.m.? And he says it's 8 p.m. In that moment,
I knew that question was coming. By the way, you're like, Jonathan. I was like,
and we're at that time, of the year where it is a little hard to tell 7 a.m. from 7 p.m. 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. But no, so it is a strange fear of mine. But that is weird that you kind of dismissed it, and that you've kind of you weren't really thinking about the science behind it, but rather just the parental the sort of consequences of coming back home and being in trouble. It's almost like it was telling you to,
Yeah, and what I feel like is he did the exact same thing. He shifted his fear into, I was supposed to have this car back. I got to go. Like, that just like he shifted his fear the same way that I did. And it was exactly the same. It wasn't, oh my God, how the hell did we lose all this time? It was just, oh my God, we're going to get in trouble and we need to go.
Yeah.
And that we didn't, and it's just bizarre. It's just bizarre. Every time it's bizarre.
One thing that's, for me, so scary about alien abduction stories is it makes me confront the fact that, like, if like I trust my senses so much and I trust logical answers, if something didn't make sense to me and if I had senses that were counterintuitive to what the rational explanation would be, like I don't even know what I'd do with myself. Like how would I handle that emotionally? Like would that break me? I don't know.
Does not compute.
Yeah, if it doesn't compute, then it doesn't. Then I don't exist. So I don't know. I don't even know what that's like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the theory behind it is that the aliens or whatever, do this they do this purposely. Like they don't want you to question it. They don't want you to.
We're probably such an easy psychology to break in that way. You're like, oh, God, humans are so easy. You just do this one thing.
Yeah.
And then they are just so afraid of being called crazy that they won't say anything true.
It's. I think that now what's interesting about this story is that it doesn't necessarily involve aliens or really any other object or place for that matter. It just involves a piece missing. And I think what we can agree on is that there are strange things that happen to people all the time, and whether it's alien related or not, I feel like this place is so much more just strange and unusual than we think it is already. That's always been true. Like the world has always been more complex and weird and interesting and crazy than people thought. Right. And then there's the whole idea of beings in the fourth dimension and fifth dimension, and and then we got, and that's not even talking about the paranormal stuff. Then we got ghosts and all that. But I mean, I'm
totally into that. Love that.
Yes. Now I wanted to segue into this because I was kind of hoping that you did. I have been told that you have some stories involving things that, or you've had run-ins with
ghost hunting.
Yeah, spirits.
Yes. We my friend Melissa.
Wait, what was your business? You started a business. What was it, or what was it called?
We did. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to remember.
Area, something like Case.
Yeah, it was
like
Caps. Wait, paranormal. Okay, what is it? Oh,
you had a website and everything.
We had a website and we had like a little logo and we had like a whole deal. Yeah.
And the equipment.
Yeah.
What's the equipment called? It's like EKG or
the EMF. Yeah, I mean, and we even had like a camera. Like I don't even know how we procured this. So that like a heat sensing camera,
Oh,
so like
yeah,
if there
was, thing.
Yeah, we had one of those. We had like I think it's Yeah, we had all of that stuff.
And did you
but
find?
Yeah, it was really fun. We did a bunch of stuff, but the best hunt we ever did was we got access to an old theater in Grand Ledge, Michigan. Here, we got the whole theater for the night alone by ourselves.
Wow!
And we got some really good EVPs, which is like voices. When you do audio recordings and you try to talk to them and you may not hear it at the time, but when you play it back, you can hear answers.
Oh, wow. Now that has always terrified me. I got to say, ever since I was a kid, EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, I think is what it stands for.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I used to be fascinated and terrified by the aspect of ghost hunting when I was in high school. And I think I was more terrified of it than fascinated. But the idea of hearing things from that weren't heard with your ears. Oh my God!
Yeah, I feel like I always get chills when that happens in a movie. In a good movie that does that well, and I'm just like, oh God, that's such a good one. Like, I
yes.
That's like I know.
Well, you want to hear the really the good one, the best one that we got.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
We were sitting in like the audience chairs facing the stage, and we were just like, talking like, is there anybody here? Blah, blah, blah. And then I felt something like on my shoulder, and I was like, oh, and I was like, I think there was a bug. There's a bug on my shoulder or something like that. I had said to her. When we played it back, and I was like, oh, what was that? Oh, I think there's a bug on my shoulder. You heard, not a bug. And then we freaked. Yeah, not a bug.
Not a bug.
And I was like, oh my God, that just said not a bug. Yeah, it was freaked me out.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh
it
my
was really
God.
good.
Oh, that is.
Wow, Mom, that time senior year in high school, you took me and all my friends to the woods for a ghost hunt.
Yes.
What's the story of those woods, and what are they called again?
Oh my gosh.
They were like,
why? I didn't know we were going to talk about this stuff. I feel like my
Sorry,
memory
yeah,
is so
it's fine,
bad
it's
right
fine.
now.
like a whole family
yeah.
died and burned or something back there, and
Yeah, there was supposed to be like a woodsman and a witch or something, and all kinds of crazy stories. But actually, it's state land, and honestly, there was a young child murdered. And we're going to say
Be honest.
it was probably like 2008 or something like that. And he was murdered by his foster parents, and they actually buried him out there.
Oh my God.
oh, so that was after
It's
I
a-
had graduated. So yeah, we didn't have
Yeah,
that
it
kid
was
to
a-
get.
Yeah,
Summon.
it's a huge area, but he was actually buried out there, so that gives you an idea of
That's interesting. Like a
you know.
recent kind of paranormal event. Like it's
Yeah.
like it's not from like 1960, a mysterious
No,
time. It's like that was like not that long ago.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, that's a crime. That's not.
Oh yeah,
paranormal.
yeah. Well, but I was.
well, that was
it's
a crime,
paranormal
but
thing, right?
yeah,
The new-
like,
it's a fresh ghost.
Keep going. Yeah, he's ghosting. He's
actually,
attacking.
yeah,
Congealed.
actually,
You
his
guys
name
should
was.
go over there. This is insensitive.
Yeah.
2008.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we did a lot of things. We went to cemeteries. We did we had a house that we got for the whole night, and it was an empty house. We did that. We've gotten some stuff. Yeah, it was fun. We did that for
Yeah,
a
you
while.
gotta find
with
out
our
what you
little-
were called. Because I remember being in high school being like, yeah, my mom's a ghost hunter. Go to caps.com
Yeah, like-
or something. Like,
I know, and I didn't know you were going to ask me these things, and my memory just
Oh
like
no,
so
no,
bad.
That's
You might be able to find
can't-
the website
Yeah.
on the
Yeah. See if we
time
can-
machine or like that. There's I
Well,
forget.
what?
yeah, we actually had a friend like draw a logo, and I just remember it was like a weird little ghost, and like this cute little cartoon ghost drawing and stuff. But yeah, no, we did that for a while. It was a lot of fun. It was really interesting for sure.
You were like Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
you
only
gonna
not.
call?
We didn't want to bust them. We wanted to just like have full out conversations with them and be like, "Hey, how's it going over there?" You know,
You just wanted to
and
be
we didn't really want
friends.
to bust them.
You weren't doing like a
And we
removal
wanted to be
service.
friends with the ghostesses. Yeah.
Right.
You just wanted to bring ghosts home
yeah,
to the family.
Just investigate.
Yeah.
Just see what's up.
No, we said a prayer before every ghost hunt to ensure that we didn't bring anything home with us. It was a prayer of protection
It's a
that we would
condom.
say.
It's a condom prayer.
Condom for your ghost hunt.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my God! Well,
Wow.
you know what? I just want to say one more time. You know, if you ever find any more information, not just with the ghosts, if you think of any stories that come to mind after this, but you know, with your time
you find
traveling.
those EVPs.
Oh,
Some
if
of
you
those
find the
not a bug.
EVPs, I would
Any of
love
the
to hear.
materials
You
would
know,
be running
I
to
was going to
Mitch.
say, I think I have those EVPs somewhere, like buried somewhere in my email somewhere. So I can try and find that stuff.
We can
But
get you and
yeah, I didn't
Melissa
know
on
you were going to
here.
go this
Yeah.
route.
Interested.
We would be wonderfully interested to hear these ghosts. We'd love to hear.
Yeah,
have
hell
some
yeah.
ghost
If
guests.
I mean, yeah.
Everyone talks about seeing ghosts, but to hear them is,
That would be
that's a
dope.
treat we don't get all the time.
You know, you're right. You're right.
But I do want to say, if you do get any more information about the time jump, we would love to know about it. If you meet up with, if you ever talk to, what's his name, Mark?
Mitch.
If you see Mitch,
I wasn't sure if I should say his his
He
name or
didn't
not.
say his
but I'm
last
sure they
name,
probably-
so
It's fine.
Right, I know.
I've
Yeah,
bleeped it out 20
if I
times.
can connect, I will definitely give you guys updates for sure.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
we are very fascinated. Thank you so much for coming on and telling us this horrifyingly mysterious story. I say horrifying because I want to get to the bottom of it. I feel like I just need a hat and a magnifying glass, and I'll be right over there. And I want to. We'll find Mitch together, and I'll play the waiter, and I'll act casual.
Yeah, and we'll hunt him down, and we'll like, what do you mean you don't remember?
What do you mean? We know you remember, and we'll beat him until he says I
Put
do.
the magnifying glass on him.
There we go.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
exactly.
Thank you so much for calling in or
Letting
answering.
us
We
call.
called
Thank you
you.
for answering.
Thanks, Mom.
Right.
You're the
Thank you.
best.
Thank
I
you
answered
so
the call.
much.
You are welcome.
All right. Bye.
Have a good day.
Okay. Bye, kids. Bye.
All right, now it's
Wow.
just the kids
Yeah,
again.
all right, you guys
Yeah.
Play hide and seek.
I got chocolate. All right, but no, seriously though, that got me thinking. There are a lot of unexplained things in my life, and just stuff that we'll never have the answers to. And I want to say, were we just talking about this before the podcast? How horrible it is to just not have an answer to something, or was that on the podcast?
I think it was right before.
It was right before we started recording, right?
Yeah, we were just talking about unsolved mysteries, and just like it's very frustrating to kind of the idea that the world will never know a thing.
Right.
You know, it's like with all of science, it's like, well, someday someone will know.
Well,
but
you
with
know-
these things, it's like no one will ever know.
It's very aggravating. I'm hoping that we are making strides with this broadcast because we're going to stand up to these aliens. They don't want you guys to remember this story fades from people's memories. Well, we just broadcast it to thousands of people. And
Yeah.
guys, remember that story. Stick it to the aliens. They can't control all of us. And
Tell each other the story. Again.
Tell each other
Again.
the story, and tell your parents the story. The aliens will know, and we will win. And this podcast will get. What are the awards do podcasts get?
The potties.
Is that really what they're called?
The
potties?
Should be. I really want to take the potty home this year.
Yeah.
But that got me thinking about just stuff that we'll never have answers to. Paranormal stuff gets to me because it's. I think that. I don't know. I think that paranormal stuff is a lot more menacing than aliens. I think that there's sort of a evil implication with a ghost. Right. I think with an alien, I don't think
it's like I can identify with curiosity more than I can with like haunting someone.
Yeah, I think with aliens, I think aliens are more of like a there's less phobia and more fascination with the idea of aliens, and I think that with ghosts, it's a little bit more like, well, I'm trying to sleep, and this thing is like coming back.
Trying to kill me-ish.
Yeah, kind of trying to kill. Yeah, ghosts have an intention that's dark and malevolent most of the time. And speaking of which, Annabelle is coming. I'm very excited. No, they did not pay me to say this. I just they shot the first movie in my building, and I've been fascinated with the franchise ever since because it's based off of a real doll. There's an actual Annabelle, and I don't know what state that the Warrens live in, but they have the doll locked in a glass case, and the priest comes, and I think it's like once a week or once a month. He like blesses the case, and the movie was based off of this doll, but it was a Raggedy Ann doll, like a big, I don't know, like 2, 3, a Raggedy Ann doll, and she's just sitting in a glass case. And,
that is pretty scary.
Yeah,
that priest
terrifying.
is like, this is a dangerous job.
Right. But they, I'm.
How do you protect yourself from that?
It's like, what are the rules?
You just don't care about dying in a really dark, scary way. You just give no fucks.
If I'm that priest though, I do kind of feel like, hey, if it's my job to contain the evil in this doll, and this doll ends up killing me, like, I'm going straight to heaven. Like, I'm doing battle with demons direct. Like, everything's gonna be fine in the long term. Like, that opens up a whole other world of like, I'm gonna be okay. Like, I'm going up there. I died demon fighting. Like, what?
I think it just plays into our fear of, and I think the reason why the doll is so popular, both the real one and the movie, is that why are we afraid of inanimate objects? Like, why do movies like Chucky do so well, or ventriloquism dummies? Why are they so scared?
Question.
We're so scared of inanimate, smaller things that are so harmless to us.
And especially, but there's a human, like, these are dolls.
Right.
dummies.
And I hate to spoil any of the Annabelle movies for anyone, but spoiler alert, she never moves. Her eyes, she never talks, but they're so terrifying. Why are we so scared of something that doesn't? And Chucky, he does move and he does, but still, we're scared. I think that it's very easy to scare someone by telling them that something small that they allow into their homes has demonic intentions.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. And also, it kind of makes you think of kids.
And
it's
something,
like, what if this innocent little child was actually incredibly evil?
Yeah. And a doll is
happen.
supposed to bring comfort. It's just the opposite is terrifying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, very true.
Now, we tend to be fearful of things that are older. I think like okay, Stephen King wrote It in the 80s that he wrote it.
I want to say that too.
Was it? But the stuff that the kids in that book were afraid of were stuff that existed a long time ago, and then nowadays I find stuff being made to make things that were not that long, like 30 years ago, look horrific. It feels like most childlike things have a shelf life of about half a century before they start to become creepy. I mean, how many of those 50s commercials of like dolls laughing are like horrifying now? It makes you think like in another 50 years, like will these toys today be terrifying to people?
Yeah, just like ripping nostalgia and crushing it in your hand.
I think it's the idea of like aged child comfort, like old childish things. Is that. Yeah. Not only that, but like just stuff from 50 years ago is just creepy. I don't know. Maybe not.
Maybe you're just scared of the elderly.
I think I'm a little bit agephobic.
Or what? I don't know.
Agephobic.
And implicitly ageist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why. I just hate old people.
Every day I become a little bit more of what I fear. Oh, but no, ghosts. I used to be really scared of ghosts. I'm not going to lie. I used to be terrified of them. And I think when I was a kid, it wasn't necessarily that I was scared of the likelihood of seeing a ghost. I was scared of the idea of seeing a ghost. I was scared of what would I do if I saw someone standing there. Like just putting that in my head was enough to just get in under my skin, and I would have to sleep with the blankets over my head. And I've actually talked to other people about this. I know I'm not the only kid who fucking wished that they had a hole in their blanket so they could breathe through that shit, because that shit that shit would get hot and sticky as fuck when you have that blankets over. So it's like, do I just take the discomfort, or do I let the demons see my face when I sleep?
Oh, I could not hide under the blanket, because then they're definitely there.
They're under the blanket with you?
No, but like, if I'm under the blanket,
right.
I'm assuming and visualizing the worst.
Right.
Like, I'm assuming it's right there breathing on me if the blanket's over me. I have to stare it in the face and freeze.
Wow.
The longer I stare at it, it's not there, the more I'm okay.
I had this very similar debate with a girl in elementary school. And I'm sorry, I took your seltzer, by the way.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, seltz it up.
I drank less out of this can, so I'll give this one back. I have two cans that I've kissed. But when I was in elementary school, like third grade or so, I got into a debate with my good friend Jamie, and I told her, I said, my theory was that I put my bed against the wall so I could sleep facing the wall, so I wouldn't have to. Because in my mind, I never thought that the ghosts could physically harm me. I always thought that ghosts were kind of there just to scare. So I figured as long as I didn't see them, then they were kind of like out of sight, out of mind. They didn't have any effect on me.
Right.
Now,
God damn it, turn around. Like, I want you to see me. Be surprised.
Right. Now, her bed was also in the corner of her room, but her argument was that so she could face outward and look and see the whole room, and like what you were saying, make sure that there's nothing there.
Right.
And to her, that was less scary. So I've come to the conclusion that I think that there are two kinds of kids out there. There are hiders, and then there are like not defenders, but seekers, right? Hiders and I like that. But there are kids who hide under the blanket and try and look away from what's scary, and there are kids who have to make sure they're safe. And I find that very, very interesting about psychology. It's like kind of
beautiful.
that because I've talked to other people, and it's like they either hid under the blankets or they had their eyes open all night while they were afraid and like making sure that they were safe. Both very interesting takes on fear. I don't think I think it's one or the other. I think, or either that or you just go to sleep. I think
you don't give a shit.
Like, what
You're
the
on like
fuck are you talking
childhood
about?
psych meds
Yeah.
and you're just over it.
yeah,
Or you're just like, fine. You're just normal.
You're like, I've seen worse in my video game.
right. Now,
What the fuck?
I used to. So right when I was about 23, I was getting over. I was like, well, when I was in 23, I moved to LA, and I remember going to sleep, and every now and then I would have problems just like facing the empty apartment. No, A, it was like a new place, it wasn't home, and B, I'm like, this building is super old. Like, what if someone died in here? What if this place is haunted? And then those like fears started to come back. But then when I got over it, I was like, I can go to sleep just looking at nothing, and I could just pick the third option, just go to sleep, right?
I was like, I do that where I'm just like, Jonathan, like, you're an adult,
Right.
Everything's fine, and that puts like a thin veneer on the fear.
Well, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
You
It's
know?
just a thin
It's like,
coating.
okay, correct. I'm
right.
an adult.
Sure, I'm supposed to not be afraid. But that's when I experienced sleep paralysis for the first time, and I hallucinated someone in my apartment. So then I realized, I have something else to fear now when I go to sleep. Like,
And you're like, if ghosts were real and what they did is like appear and frighten me into like psychosis and stuff, if I'm already imagining that, what's the fucking difference?
Right.
Like I am like, ghosts are real for all intents and purposes.
That is the conclusion that I'm coming. That's the conclusion I came to, and that's the point I'm coming at. Is that that ghosts might as well be real because we have the ability to summon up things that are. It's essentially Pennywise because they come in the form. Because it's apparently when you're in that state of mind, the part of your brain that interprets fear or processes fear is like super active, and so you're kind of visualizing. Everyone usually sees a demon of some kind, but I've heard people see other things that are terrifying. I've heard people seeing insects and people seeing like the bed is covered in bugs.
You just see fear.
You just basically
the
see what
feeling.
makes you afraid.
Yeah.
And I think that's almost more to terror. I almost want to have the ghosts come back. If the logic was that they can't harm you and that was all
Right.
if the ghosts were just
Hilarious.
there, then I'd
You're
rather
like,
have
I'll
that
take
back.
the ghost
Give me
over
a
my fucking
classic
fear.
ghost.
Because classic ghost doesn't know what
Yeah.
I'm afraid of. They just know that I got chains and maybe hopefully the generic look
You're like,
scares
wrong
him.
type, dum dum.
Wrong type, yeah. I'm actually afraid of, but no, I'm now up against a different enemy. So now to combat this, I've found a way around it because I'm terrified of. Sometimes I sleep with my eyes open, and I often dream about what I'm looking at. So I've had so many dreams about my ceiling fan. I've had so many dreams about. I'm not
It's
kidding.
like the one corner of my crown molding, like in another.
And that's something that's gone way. Anyone who's ever had to share a hotel room with me, or like when I used to travel, do speech and debate, anyone who's had to see me asleep knows that my eyes sometimes will open. Not all the way. It's not creepy, but my eyes will just
No,
kind
it
of.
is.
Well, you know how it is. But I will. So my biggest fear is to just accidentally, just because. I don't know. I'll just open my eyes and I'll see something there that isn't there. So I got a sleep
it's like,
mask.
it's like if you're aware that your eyes are currently closed, then now you're in territory where you might end up fearing opening them.
Exactly. And now I'm not in a state of mind to fall asleep, am I? Now I'm like kind of a little bit worried about that, aren't I?
Yeah.
So I found a way around it. I got myself a sleep mask on Amazon.
Nice.
And you've seen me wear it on the airplane. When we were on the airplane together, you saw me wearing that thing.
Really fabulous.
Well, I just
Fun
find that they're just great in general to fall asleep with. But particularly, I don't have to worry about waking up and seeing. Now, auditory hallucinations, that I can't do anything about. But I no longer have to fear about waking up and seeing a demon. If a demon is there, I know that he can only harm me as much as my own psychosis.
I can't see you. Demons can only harm me
as much as my own brain will allow it. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Our minds are...
Yeah.
And the sleep mask is a forced eyelid.
Oh my God! We spend so much time thinking outward into space and aliens and the beyond, but I find that going deep into ourselves is much more fascinating and much more of a free fall because that's where the true. I feel like extraterrestrial beings are further and further out the more we look. But I feel like the paranormal beings, maybe that's more and more inner. Maybe that's more of a thing about ourselves. It always seem like quite personal stories.
Yeah. That's interesting that they are kind of two sides of the same coin. The paranormal inner, the space out, and it's like both kind of represent this infinite possibility of the physical realm and of your internal realm.
Can I give you my take on ghosts?
Yes.
I don't necessarily know if I believe in them, but I don't want to be proven that they exist. If they exist, that's fine. I'm not against them, but I don't want to know. I don't want to see one. That scares the hell out of me.
You enjoy the mystery.
I don't enjoy the mystery either. I just don't
you hate the mystery.
Think about, I just
you want
don't.
It to stay
I just
mystery.
don't think about ghosts. And that's the great thing about living in LA, especially in an apartment building, is that like it's just you can't be afraid of ghosts there because you're around people. You know that like all you have to do is like fart for someone to hear you. So like
Right.
it's I feel like because I came from, and I think we all kind of at one point in
Your
our
neighbors
life,
are like, ghost? You're like, it's just me.
right.
And farting.
Yeah. I mean, you hear everything living in a apartment. And I think that we've all, I mean, I came from, a town where it's, the houses are very spread apart. And I think those are more where ghosts are, I would be afraid of running into one, is like the town that I grew up in, where I know that I'm just in a house far away from other people.
Right. And that if you had to like run, like it's just too far. It's not like a mile away. It's not like a farm where that's like clearly creepy. But it's like, I thought there would be people here, and they're like, and there's no one in that house. Or,
Oh my
God,
that's my biggest fear is running in the middle of the night, like through, because let me tell you, where I grew up in Livermore, it's like mostly farmland. And at least in the outskirts, it's all farmland. And a lot of, as a teenager, we used to that's where every teen in Livermore parties. You just go, drag racing.
Thought of it
Same in
follows when you're
Michigan,
saying this
yeah.
and
Or
shit
just like that's where you do drugs. That's where that's where just kind of less law exists out there, right? And my biggest fear was getting like hanging out with the wrong crowd and like someone going crazy. If someone went crazy, like how like having to run from them or running because you would hear about murders that would happen in Livermore, and they would always happen in those hills at night, or just like in between the farms, or in between, like someone got stabbed out on highway, whatever, past the, it's like, imagine being the victim having to run from like house to house in a small town. Like here in LA, it's like you don't have to run very far to find
the killer's probably like,
safety.
fuck, I gotta get out of here. But you're like, oh my God. That's terrifying. I always find like the murders in LA are almost they sound almost nicer because it's like this person got shot up on the street, okay, but in like a small town it's like this person had their throat slit and their bodies were like chopped up in a million
Mangled. Yeah.
Right. They're like, they were bored. This killer's like bored out here and came up with some extra crazy shit.
Maybe that's why ghosts exist in like smaller towns as opposed to living in the city. Like just ghosts just die a horrible death in a smaller town.
And because like murder takes like a more twisted path out there. It's like has to come about very strangely, whereas in the city it's like, goddamn, fuck you.
Right.
Like those murders are like more upfront, like more just direct. And
it's not personal.
In a small town, it's got to be like carefully crafted.
Yeah, exactly.
Twisted in the mind.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really how they were. Every person who died in Livermore, it was a fucked up death. It was either a suicide or it was like some really fucked up, like him and his buddy got their wife out there so they could kill her or something like that. Like just really twisted shit that would, and I don't know. I weirdly enough, I thought that living in that town, I thought I could never move to LA because I wouldn't feel safe out there. And now like living here, I'm like, well, I don't know. If I piss anyone off in that town, I'm legitimately sleeping with one eye open at night.
Like I do sometimes, so don't test me.
If I can't find my eye mask.
But you know what? I'm glad here in LA it doesn't seem like ghosts or aliens are much of a thing we have to deal with.
Not yet.
Yeah. Not according to GTA. They both exist in that game. But thanks to have you played Grand Theft Auto?
Not that much. What the hell are you talking about?
Ghosts and aliens exist in that game.
Nice.
They do. Yeah. There's a ghost that appears for an hour every night by the ocean if you go at a certain time, and then you
Took
have
some creative liberties. It sounds like with the video game.
Or
design.
they've seen some shit.
Yeah. Well, guys, this
has been fantastic.
This has been such
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
And my mom. Thanks for having me.
This was a wonderful. This was a wonderful. And it was a great way for me to get to meet your mom. I've never talked to her before.
Yeah.
This is the best way for you to meet her.
Yes, hearing
Skip
this.
the small talk. Go right into the real shit.
It. And ladies and gentlemen, this should prove to you guys that small talk, you don't need it. Just go into what's pointless. It's middleman jargon. There you go.
There it is. You got it.
Anyways, Rachel, thank you so much for being here. Jonathan, as always, you're
pleasure.
here as well. And and we'll see you guys next time. And until then, if you have any ghost stories or alien stories, send them along. Maybe we'll do another episode of this. I'm curious to know. And make sure they're legit. Don't write, because everyone likes to exaggerate this shit. Make sure it's something that actually happened. I find the truth to be so much more fascinating than bullshit.
Give us the details.
Yes. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, stay safe. And we need a sign-off slogan, but we'll think of one next time.